Hi everyone, my name is Tammy and I am in the Thanatology Funeral Prep Certificate Program at BCC. This video is for Psychology 262, Intro to Thanatology. A little bit about myself. As I said, my name is Tammy and I have been at BCC for on and off for more years than I'd like to admit. Probably more than years than some of you have been out of high school. The Thanatology Funeral Prep Service Certificate will be my third certificate through BCC. I have my certificate in infant, toddler, and also preschool care. I have been in early childhood education for the better part of 26 years. I began when my brother was born. So he is now 26. We are 19 years apart, and he's the first child I ever took care of. What brought me to early childhood was basically my brother being born. Before that, I never wanted to work with children. I'd never been around children. I'm not able to have children of my own. I found that out at a very, very early age. So every child that I've had in my daycare center or as a nanny or now my pets are my children. So as I said, I've worked in early childhood for the better part of 26 years, either within a child care facility or as a nanny. After taking Intro to Thanatology and Psychology of Grief, combined with the multiple classes I've taken in early childhood and my year's experience within it, what I'd actually like to do is focus on grief counseling with children from 3 to 5 within a child care setting. So particularly not working with children in like an office setting, but actually going to the child care centers and working one-on-one with the children to see how they're processing whatever grief is going on in their lives. Whether it be the death of a parent, the death of a friend, the death of a pet, anything like that where parents are noticing something, or even a teacher has noticed something and they know that there was a death in the family in some way, shape, or form, and they're noticing an issue with the child that they've never had before. So with all this, it brings me to what my paper was all about and why I'm doing this video, other than the fact that it's required for class. My paper has actually changed titles 3 times of what I've wanted to look at, and the final being Child Grief and Losing a Loved One. My main goal of the paper was to bring to light the fact that we need to realize that children grieve just like we as adults do, but they experience it and feel it different than we do. Grief is more than just a parent. It can also be a pet or a friend. It can also be for older children who have lost a sibling, either a sibling that was to be born before them or a sibling that should have been born after them, but they died at birth or shortly after birth. We get so caught up in our own grief that we just don't notice that children are grieving because we're not taught the signs, and we're not really expected that children, oh, they feel something, because they're just children. They don't know, they don't understand, but they really truly do. And we just, with all our own grief and funeral preps, if it's somebody who has died for, say, a husband or a wife, we have so much going on that we don't take that time to acknowledge our children or nieces or nephews, or in my case, what I'm looking for, children in the child care setting. For children, their first experience with death may be a pet. You know, you win a goldfish at a carnival. After a week, it dies. Goldfish are feeder fish. They're not meant to live long lives, though they can. They're really not meant to. So children think, oh, Goldie died. It's life, that's what happens. But with adults, with humans, and with pets like cats or dogs, things that have a longer lifespan, it's not the same. With children generally under 2, because they can't speak, most of what we would see with them is signs of excessive crying more than normal. We understand that children cry a lot, especially because they have no skills of communication. And that is their only way of saying, hey, I'm sad, hey, I'm hungry, hey, I'm tired. But children under 2 also realize if somebody significant in their life is missing. You may see that they're crying a little bit more and their cry is different. You may also see that they're refusing to eat. They're refusing to sleep. Their normal routines have changed. And it's all because somebody significant in their life is missing. This goes for within the home or within the childcare setting, or even an aunt or uncle who visits once or twice a month and they know and it's a routine for them. They will pick up on that and they will start to show signs that, oh, I know something's going on. And it makes me sad, but I don't know how to tell anybody. Where I'm focused on is primarily 3 to 5-year-old, because they do have that language and they will express things so differently. For a daycare center to say, oh, Miss Tammy hasn't been in class for a week. When is she coming back? What happened to Miss Tammy? How do you explain that to a child? And how do you explain that appropriately? It might also be, hey, Aunt Lisa, is supposed to visit like she did last week. We were supposed to make cookies. Well, how come Auntie Lisa didn't show up? They know. They see. They may not know what's going on, but it's up to us as adults to speak to them. Be like, hey, I know you're concerned Auntie Lisa didn't show up this week. Well, Auntie Lisa passed away. And try to explain to them on a child level. You don't have to get into details. Oh, she had cancer, she had a bad car accident, and she died. You can just basically say, well, she's no longer here with us. She has died, which means everything within her body has stopped. She cannot come back. You'll always have your memories of her, but you will not physically see her. Children 3 to 5 may also feel that they caused the death if they actually are showing signs that they understand what has happened. And they may say, well, I fought with Charlie last week and I told Charlie I didn't want to see him anymore and now he doesn't come around. They don't have that comprehension that they didn't cause that death. They cannot say by words to cause somebody to die. It just doesn't happen that way. And we as the adults have to explain that to the children. They may also ask if grandma is done being dead and are they coming back to babysit, because they don't understand. It's sort of like object permanence, where you put a toy behind a blanket and the first few times they realize, oh, it's gone, it disappeared. You move the blanket and it's there. That doesn't happen with death. We also have to realize cartoons. Characters like Bugs Bunny die in every episode. The Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote gets hit by that anvil all the time, and supposedly he dies, but 2 minutes later he's back. That does not help children in any way, shape, or form grasp the concept of death. And as much as I would like to see things like that disappear, I don't see it physically ever happening in my time. Signs of grief can be seen while children are playing as well. We might think, oh, well, we have the funeral going on or the wake, and the children are just playing. The children are fine, they're playing. But as someone who's worked with children for so many years, you see the changes in their play. If you listen closely, you can take in what they're doing. They may be reenacting exactly what they see. They may be pretending to be at a funeral because Sally Lou Who has passed away. And now everybody's gathering and looking at her body in a casket. When you see this, this is a teachable moment. It might be a difficult time to do it, but just acknowledge it and say, we can talk about that later. This way here, they have some kind of acknowledgement to what's going on around them, and they're not being ignored. We can also see what is referred to as monkey see, monkey do. And it was actually discussed in a book called When Children Grieve, and it was by John James and Russell Friedman. It basically says that children mimic what they see adults doing. So if as an adult your husband has passed away And when somebody brings it up and you're sad and you don't want to talk about it, you go into your room, you cry, and you slam the door. When you ask your son, Charlie, oh, how are you feeling about how, with dad passing away? And he gets mad, he starts to cry, he goes into his bedroom and slams the door, and you don't understand why. Stop and think. What am I doing? How am I dealing with the grief? Am I going and doing the same thing? And that's basically what is discussed in this. Is the parent called an institute, a grief institute, and asked, what's going on? I don't understand what he's doing. And when the mother was questioned, she's like, light bulb, he's copying exactly the same thing I do. And we talk about monkey see, monkey do with a lot of things. And children are the top ones to do the monkey see, monkey do. Because they figure if an adult can do it, I can do it too. And they don't realize what they're doing. We all need to remember that children of any age can experience grief. They may not experience the same way because you have to look at the developmental abilities of them along with their age. Twins may react differently because one twin may have developed age appropriately, where the other child may have some delays because there might have been issues at birth, and that has to be figured into where they understand what happened around them. And that goes for anything, not just grief. That goes for anything educationally, anything within the home, the way they react in the stores. Developmental age is so much different than actual age. And just within grief, that plays such a major role. A 6-year-old may have the comprehension of a 2-year-old. So the way they react to things is going to be completely different. And we have to be like taking a step back and looking at, well, you can't say that and you can't do this. Well, if your 6-year-old is acting up and they have a developmental age of 2, so what's going to happen? And we have to realize that, especially at a time of grief. There are many actual books about grief for children, which I was actually really surprised to see. A friend of mine, Joanne Andrews, actually wrote a book. It's for older children than what I would like to work with. But it's actually a very decent book. It's very well written. And it's called Ryan's New Beginning. And it's basically a child who loses a grandparent. And it just goes through the days and how he's reacting and how he's feeling. There's also a very interesting book, and it is specifically for 2 years old and up. And this is what it is right here. I know it's backwards. We were going to have a baby, but we had an angel instead. It's basically a parent loses the baby at birth, and the older child knew that there was supposed to be a baby coming. And it goes through the feelings of how the child, what I would have done with my baby brother, my baby sister. We know he's an angel now. Mommy and dad are sad. Grandma and grandpa are sad. But this author actually also has a book that is called Someone Came Before You, which is basically the opposite. It's a child that had passed away before the current child was born. And these books are both written by Pat Shebert. I highly recommend, if you're going to work with children in any way, shape, or form, especially young children, to read books like this to get a better understanding. I'd also recommend doing some child development classes to get some greater understanding as well. And I hope you enjoyed my video. It's been a great semester. I'm very proud of myself because I made it through without completely crying like I did the first 2 times. So I look forward to your comments, your critiques, and I hope everyone has a great month off. If you have completed your time at BCC, congratulations. And if you'll be with me next semester in any of my classes, I look forward to seeing you again. Bye. Thank you.